In a world where Mateo 311 had a cold and his voice still sounds like this, he did a Stride Fates review. Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I'm Mateo 311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. So today we're checking out the hardcore parkour VR title Stride Fates. Now this video has been sponsored by the developers Joyway, but I'm going to be talking about them a lot more towards the end of the video, and it might be in a little bit of a critical manner. Now before we get into that though, let's just start this video off like normal with the basic information of Stride Fates. This game is currently available on the Quest 2 and up for $29.99. A PC VR version is releasing sometime in 2024, and if you purchase the Steam Early Access of Stride between September 4th, 2020 and June 10th, 2022, Stride Fates will be free of charge when it releases on PC. This is due to the fact that Stride has been separated into two different games: the original version, which features a series of parkour challenges and multiplayer modes, and the new Stride Fates, which is a single-player story-driven experience. Today, we're only covering Stride Fates, which finally delivers that Mirror's Edge style action adventure that we've been waiting for. You'll run, jump, climb, swing, and battle your way across 12 action-packed and fully voice-acted chapters in a 5+ hour long campaign. There's 3 separate firearms that you can upgrade over time, and an array of melee weapons. The intensity level remains high throughout the game, and the title succeeds at delivering some excellent parkour, a nice variety of mechanics, and some fast-paced combat. Unfortunately though, it does have some faults, so let's get into my personal experience with Stride Fates. Now this is a game that's good, but could have been great. There's just a series of little issues that mar the overall experience. I'm going to spend a few minutes breaking down all of these little but non-game breaking issues that when you add them up kind of make you feel like this game needed a little bit more time in the oven, which is surprising because it's been in development for multiple years. The first annoyance is grab detection. Your hands will constantly grab onto something you're not aiming for, and you will get used to it over time, but it can be quite frustrating. And additionally, grabbing onto your weapons is extremely specific. So like your holster for your gun, where it is on your chest, is easy to miss, especially the weapons on your shoulders. You're gonna do an exaggerated movement when you want to get that. And lots of games use these type of mechanics, but they do it better. So that was definitely frustrating, and again, something that you just need to adjust to. Additionally, there's no audio or haptic feedback when you're holstering and unholstering weapons. Which feels like a glaring oversight. Comparing the weapon mechanics to other VR first-person shooters, this kind of feels like a Wish.com version of Bone Lab. But to stop and defend the game for a second, the parkour movement in this game is actually a lot better than what you get from Bone Lab. So pros and cons here. Now another minor issue is the fact that enemies tend to have a blank stare on their face. It's not as bad as what we see in Starfield, which is a brand new AAA title, but in a VR game, it just stands out a bit more, and it's just one more thing that kind of breaks the overall immersion. But the biggest issue for me was probably the mediocre story and subpar voice acting.
Who called the chaser to Vital Tech client office and why? And what are these bandits doing here?
Unclear. Rumor has it that there's a mole in Sky Chase who is working with the skulls.
Voice acting is one of those things that you really only notice it when it's really bad or really good. And maybe I'm being a bit too critical here because I've been playing the cream of the crop in Baldur's Gate 3, where the voice acting is just top notch. Like you can't get better.
And I'm here to save you again.
So maybe I'm just noticing voice acting a little bit more, but here, both the storyline and how it's delivered are mediocre. They also have some pretty bad timing issues where the triggers for the narration just fire off too soon or too late, which make things seem a bit awkward. Now at this point, you might be thinking that the game is just god-awful, but that is not true at all. This is just a series of small issues that kind of come together to lower the overall experience. There's still a ton of fun to be had here, from the excellent parkour action to the combat to some other variety that you wouldn't expect, like little puzzles and just, speed running, stuff like that. It is an all-around good experience that has some rough edges and is lacking polish. Now I still have a lot of hope that this game can continue to improve over time. The current release version that I played right now is significantly better than the demo version I played roughly a month or so ago. I was also happy to see that they included multiple control options. Some people weren't comfortable with the full immersive mode where you throw your hands up to jump and physically crouch to slide. Now there are button presses for jumping and for ducking. So basically you have the best of both worlds, whatever feels right to you. And I've tried both, and I kind of tend to enjoy the more simplified control options. But if you enjoy that extra level of immersion, you have that option too. Now, hopefully Joyway continues to listen to player feedback and the game gets a little bit better over time and it moves from good all the way to great. So let's get into my final verdict and overall recommendation. Stride Fates is an excellent attempt to bring Mirror's Edge style action into VR. There's excellent parkour, some fast-paced combat, and a mediocre storyline that may or may not entice you. Unfortunately though, the game still has a bunch of rough edges and can use some additional polish. If this is the type of action you're looking for, then I would say go ahead and pick it up. It is a very unique title, and I enjoyed my overall experience. But if you're not sure, this isn't your exact genre, maybe you might want to wait. Hopefully they introduce some new updates. I know they are bringing manual reload. Right now the game just has like an action reload where you just flick your wrist down and it reloads your gun. So some people that bothers. For me, I'm fine with it, but manual reload is coming and hopefully some additional updates based on player feedback. But overall, the title does feel like it's worth the $30 asking price. Now, before we end this video, we have to spend a minute talking about Joyway. I mentioned this video is sponsored, and this right here might blow my sponsorship, but I have to keep it real with you guys. Joyway is an interesting studio. They've been around for quite some time, and it feels like they're getting quite proficient at making VR games, but they also leave a lot of titles unfinished. And I hope Stride Fates is where they turn things around, but let's briefly look at the studio's history. Time Hacker has been in early access since 2020. You have Against, which is also in early access since 2020. Now, the original Stride is no longer in early access, but that came out in 2020 also, and was recently removed from early access as the title split into two games. One is Stride Fates. Additionally, Outlier was canceled after only 2 months in early access, and they eventually repackaged that into a quest-only title, so it's pretty easy to start to lose faith in this company. I hope they don't continue to do this stuff. I was happy to see that they did go ahead and give Stride Fates free to Steam members who bought into the early access, because we originally thought we were buying into the single player version, not multiplayer and just some parkour runs. So I was happy to see they did that. That was also after some negative pushback. So I don't know if they were already planning it or they had to do it because they were forced to. Either way, I hope this is the beginning of a new Joyway, where they continue to make better and better games, and they don't kind of change things halfway down the route, and they focus on one project at a time, not 5. They always have one that's in early access and they spiral up another. Stop doing that, please.
And that was today's video, brought to you by my dad, Mateo311. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here,
Consider subscribing.
consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
We'll see you guys on next time.
We'll see you guys on next time.